Thank you very much for joining us this morning. The time is now, a sustainability in the events industry conversation with Elevate, Isla and Smyle. My name is Alex Camacho. I'm a learning and projects delivery partner at Isla, and we are a UK-based non-profit organisation founded by event professionals and industry leaders, and we're focusing on this idea of a sustainable future for the events industry. Now, we consider ourselves an action-driven network. That means we're pulling on lots of different knowledge and expertise across all of the different stakeholders in our industry in order to facilitate that change. And what we're trying to do is provide universal guidance tools for sustainability, as well as a standardization in methods and measurements applicable to anyone who wants to plan a sustainable event. I'm joined today by Keith O'Loughlin and Karina Fillick.
Hi, nice to meet you all. My name is Keith O'Loughlin. I'm the Chief Executive of the Smyle Group. Smyle, many of you will have heard of, I'm sure. We are now 12 times winner of Agency of the Year, and we produce events across the world, but principally in the EMEA region. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, I'm Karina. I'm the Global COO for Elevate, where we provide people for events around the world. Within the business, I look after operational health, and I'm the head of all things ESG within the business. Outside of my main job, I also have the privilege to sit on the advisory board for Isla, and helping them to support their mission. So good to be here today. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you both for joining us. So the first question we are going to address is, what are some of the key challenges that we're facing when we're trying to implement these sustainable practices, and how can we reduce some of the barriers towards achieving this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think knowledge is such an important thing in this area, and something that I talk about a lot as being one of the main barriers. You know, I think there's so much intent and passion out there, but often people don't know where to go, what the first step to take is. The education bit is so crucial. And as business leaders, making sure that we implement training opportunities within their business so that people in our teams know how to have conversations with their partners is absolutely crucial.
And if I could build on that, Karina, that knowledge base is so important, not just on the supply side, but also within the business, and as we arrange things with our clients. Sustainability is a complex subject, and many people are intimidated by that, and they're not quite sure what it is they're meant to do in order to get moving. So coming up with a few simple principles has been sort of key to helping everybody understand where to start, and therefore what to start doing. So building from a simplified base, building that knowledge into actions.
Yeah, and absolutely. I would agree with both of you there. I think, firstly, by actually putting some time aside to educate the staff in your organization about some of these sustainability concepts. For example, there's a great deal of confusion still between the difference of carbon neutrality and net zero, why we're aiming for these things in the first place. And when it comes to the climate crisis, there's really still a widespread lack of understanding as to the serious consequences of our inaction. So by learning and outlining some of this information in your sustainability policy, on your website, other external comms, you can really help spread this information throughout your entire supply chain. I'm going to ask why you think collaboration between brands, agencies, organizers, venues, suppliers, all of these different stakeholders, why is collaboration between them so important when it comes to sustainability?
The overarching thing for collaboration, especially in this space, is absolutely imperative. It's, you know, not one single individual can create the amount of impact that we need. We need to be able to collaborate together, and as a unit, as a collaborative group of people or partners, we have the power to drive real impact. So I think it's absolutely critical that we have the collaboration between, whether it's brands, agencies, event organizers, all of the different spaces across the events industry. To make sure that we are aligned on our ambitions, and enable us all to make our small changes that we can within our respective spaces.
And again, Karina, I echo so much of that. When you look at an enterprise level, there's X% of businesses is your gross profit, and it's covering your overhead and the things you've got direct control over. You need a level of collaboration, but you've got authority in that space. When we're doing the beyond the factory gate, we have influence. We don't have authority. We have influence, and therefore we do need collaboration of sentiment and collaboration of action. So collaboration of sentiment is clients wanting to us to produce sustainable activation for them, and then as we go into the supply chain, having that body of knowledge and expertise. We're not in the supplier's business making the decisions. We have to trust that they have acted in the way that we have all agreed should be acted. Otherwise, we'll end up doing everybody's jobs for them. So we need that network of collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. At Isla, we've certainly noticed that the competition is very much increasing in the race for more sustainable event deliveries, often in response to that client demand. It's really important to keep in mind the importance of collaboration across the whole sector in sharing processes, innovations that work. So as an industry, we can accelerate this sustainable transition together. And this is effectively one of the core aims of Isla, is to improve everyone's knowledge at the same time by pooling those collective resources and case studies. So we're all operating on a bit more of a level playing field and can speak more confidently with other stakeholders about these important issues. Final point on collaboration is about creating demand across the sector for increased sustainability.
I think the demand piece is really interesting. The way that this comes to me is around, it's actually from a workforce perspective that the demand is really evident. We know that millennials are going to be making up 3/4 of the workforce within the next 5 years. And, I look at the events industry and the amazing people that are coming through into that space. The people coming into that space are demanding the businesses to have better ESG efforts. And I read a report recently that said that over 50% of 1,000 millennials surveyed said they would choose one role over another based on employers' ESG initiatives, which I thought was a really great demonstration of that. And actually more so, the further point, it said a third of all those people surveyed had actually gone on to leave a role because the ESG initiatives weren't robust enough.
Again, I agree with that. The workforce is one area of demand. A second area of demand is actually the guests who come along to the events and activations that we as an industry produce. And increasingly, they are of that generation. Their eyes are wide open to what things are doing, and they can be critical of what clients are doing. So that overt waste that one can see at certain types of things, those guests do not want to be part of that. So, they can act with their feet, and clients need to be mindful of that. So, our little piece in the chain of being places that are magnets for employees to come and work to, and the work that we do that does ethical, robust activation for clients. It's a sort of big virtuous community there that we have to be mindful of.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of different stakeholders to consider, and really it's about trying to encourage everyone to come on this journey at the same time. If we take venues, for example, across the UK, there is a very broad spectrum of sustainability standards. Of course, event organizers don't always have complete control over the choice of the venue, but certainly the more they prioritize the more sustainable venues, try and influence clients towards those, then the quicker the less advanced venues are going to up their game. We're going to move on to our final topic now, which is all about net zero. And the question is, what immediate actions can those within the events industry take to support a net zero future?
For me, it really comes back to one of our earlier points. I think education is absolutely critical. We have to empower people that are out there in our businesses delivering for us the day-to-day to make sure that they are armed with the tools so they can go and take these actions. I think, we can, as business leaders, we can have a vision of what we want to achieve, and we can keep talking about it and have amazing visions in the space. But unless we empower our workforces and enable them to take these action, it just continues to be a lot of conversation, a lot of intent and a lot of passion, but no true action. So education is a huge piece for me. We are currently at Elevate educating our field workforces in addition to our HQ team. So anybody that is on the Elevate field database across all of our markets globally, we're giving them the opportunity to go through some training in the ESG space to give them that level of understanding so that when they're on an event, they know how they can create an impact.
And I agree with that. The education piece, so that people know what to do, because to my earlier point, we can't make decisions for people at every decision-making point. They have to be empowered to do that and have the knowledge base to do it. So education is one key part to it. Accurate measurement is another key part to it. So we have some genuine, robust data on what is going on as a result of either the actions we've taken or the legacy work that we're doing. And then what are we doing with that result? Taking action with that in a very authentic and measurable and a science-based way.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is committing publicly to net zero by 2050. I think there has been a certain reluctance for people to make those commitments because they're not entirely sure what they mean. I think one of the important things to understand is that net zero is not something that you become overnight. It really is a pathway, and that pathway is paved with different milestones. Reducing your emissions by 50% by 2030, reducing by around 90% by 2050, because that's the safe level that the Earth can absorb the remaining emissions. Now, the majority of your emissions as well are going to be in a scope 3 category, which is going to sit outside your operations. That's going to be the majority of which coming from your value chain. And really, companies now need to commit to measuring those emissions from across their entire value chain and finding ways to collaborate and get that data from the value chain, often sometimes by including an obligation to submit that data as part of your tendering or contracting process. So all of that data is coming to you. You don't need to scramble around after the event trying to get it. We're almost out of time now. I'd like to thank Keith and Karina very much for the conversation today. I've been Alex Camacho. The time is now sustainability in the event industry with Elevate, Isla, and Smyle. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.